I am here with my first ever guest slash co-host slash best friend slash soul friend slash many things, Anushka. If you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Well, I have prepared absolutely nothing, um, but I'm so glad to be here. I met Ashley when we were studying abroad together in Copenhagen, like now 3 years ago
Three
now. Oh
years
my
ago,
God,
yeah.
that's crazy.
It's
But
so weird.
yeah, so yeah, I met her through the writing world, and we actually shared a room together while we were there with our third roommate, Hannah. So we all three of us were in the same room, and we all lived in an apartment with a bunch of other writers, and that's how I know Ashley. And now we are lifelong friends.
I was also I was wiping my eye because before starting I was laughing a lot with Anushka because I couldn't introduce myself with her watching or anyone watching.
We tend
So
to do that
I
a
wasn't
lot.
I wasn't crying because of Anushka her introduction, but anyway. So today we thought that since we both write and that's sort of how we met through that creative writing LLC that she was talking about, that we would just talk about writing and what inspires us, what we like to write, who inspires us, book wise or author wise, and really anything. We just talk a lot, so we might ramble. Welcome back to Consumed by Stars. Well, I guess actually this is perfect. I may or may not have worn my One Virginia Woolf shirt for starting my inspiration with her. I've talked about her plenty, maybe actually not in these videos, but I read To the Lighthouse my sophomore year of college, and it was that sort of book that I feel like, I don't know how to explain this, but I've explained it before and failed as well. But just when you're a writer, you suddenly read another writer, and that's when it clicks almost, like something in you, you understand that you finally found that person that you want to write, like not in a copycat sort of way, but just someone who's doing what you want to be doing and expresses things in a way that reaches you. And that was a really bad description, but so she is probably my biggest author inspiration. That is one. I've also been reading a lot of Toni Morrison lately because I'm in a Toni Morrison book club, and she does it in a different way where she pulls a lot of emotion from the reader, but through more simple language, almost not simple, but she doesn't try to be too flowery and stuff. She has beautiful moments, but it's more about her characters and the poignancy in their stories and who they are and stuff versus the really internal sort of introspective stuff that Virginia Woolf writes about. But I like both of those things, so I take from both of them.
Yes, I love that. What would you say is like your favorite Virginia Woolf like piece of writing? It could, yeah, I don't know. Does she only do novels? I
She
feel
has
like those
essays
are
as well.
oh
So
essays.
she
Yeah, I was like,
actually, that's perfect. She actually has this essay. It's called something in a library, a woman in a library. No, oh, something about libraries, and it was really good, and it's on I think the Poetry Foundation website maybe, but that's not my favorite piece. That's just she
oh
does
okay.
write essays as well. I think it's really hard because overall I do think The Waves is my favorite just because it is so not not all of it's relatable, but just as someone who is an overthinker and loves to stay inside my own
Sorry,
head a
I
lot.
was like nodding at the
Yeah.
overthinking. I didn't want to be like rude,
Yes.
but no, it's because I also do that too.
Yes, we are the same. um, and there are just a lot of, well, actually, the line from that book is a line that I want to get a tattoo of one day, and also is
Oh,
the name of this YouTube channel, which I've already said before as well, I think, but is just the something about, I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but I saw a star riding through the clouds one night and said to the star, consume me, or something like that. And
hmm.
that, just the consume me, and her language is so rich though, and just all of that. And so I think The Waves, there are certain lines in Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse that hit me and strike a chord, and they're lines that I would love to have in like a journal or a commonplace book or whatever forever to look back on. But as a whole, I think The Waves is probably my favorite. So you should read it.
Yes.
Anushka and the people watching.
Yeah, just me specifically.
I forget that I'm talking to a camera.
Yeah. Yeah, wait, you have the recording of that, right? On your
oh
channel.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I totally that is what the
I was like, because I was
channel.
like, wait a minute. I definitely started. I was like, how did I start?
Wait, you
I
were
was like,
listening?
yeah, I was like, how did I start listening to it? I feel like must have been audiobook. And then I was like, wait a minute.
It's me. What the heck? I literally forgot that ever happened. That's the pandemic.
That's how you started the channel.
I know. That started the channel, and I love how I'm like, Anushka, you should read that one. I literally already sent you my video.
No, that's great.
But anyway, yeah, so that's me. Who inspires you? I already know some of them, but I'm interested to hear.
Yes. Well, it's actually funny that you say you talked about like the essay on libraries or whatever that she wrote, and like how you were talking earlier about how like sometimes when people just write things that like click in your brain and you're like, yes, this articulates everything that I want to say, or that I'm thinking. I have this book that's like, it's actually downstairs. Otherwise, I would get it. It's in the basement. Oh wait, actually, it's on my bookshelf right here. Wait, I'm gonna go get it. Yeah.
Get it.
Okay. Yes. So this is the library card by. Oh. Sorry, I just like took it away right as you were looking at it.
Fake fan.
By Jerry Spinelli. And as you can see, my copy is very torn and well loved.
Oh my god.
There is a.
I didn't even know.
And I don't know what 301 stands for, but okay.
You can write about it.
I won this book as a prize during this competition, the summer reading competition that my local library does. So I
cool.
And what did I say?
Where's your local library?
So right now I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, and that's like where I grew up. And so this library is like the one that I've been going to for a really long time. And yeah, I had like the final prize was like picking out a book or something.
Yeah.
And I picked this one out. So which is why it's very well loved, because it was a library book previously. Yeah. But
that's an apt book to get from a library. Like,
I know. And it was like one of those books that just like it's a collection of 4 short stories, and all relating to library cards. And it was just like a very sweet book. And I feel like it's like one of those books that like you read when you're younger and you're just like, wow, like this is so cool. Even though now it like seems kind of silly, but like I feel I've reread this book actually a lot, like throughout my life, like since then, because I was like really young. And every time I've read it, it's still really good. So yeah, anyways, that was just a little anecdote. But I would say like my biggest inspirations, I have like a couple people in like different genres, because I feel like I read a lot of like scripts, poetry, like essays, novels. So I just love every type of written word, and like a lot of people who like also are just like journalists and stuff that inspire me. But you know, I figured since coming on your channel, I would talk about poetry, and I think you know who I'm going to talk about, because
I do.
So my favorite poet is Ross Gay.
Really?
Surprise. And yeah, I just really like how he writes about joy as like a Black man, and just like all of his like experiences in life, and that like I don't know, I've never, well, I won't say I never, because I've read a lot of poetry, but like I feel like I haven't read poetry that as much that's like this just purely joyful, but like also like contains layers of feelings underneath it. So it's not just like like, oh, this is a happy poem. It's like, this is a happy poem that's also like grateful for all of the times when I was sad that made this a happy poem, or something like that. And like all those like little moments, like Ashley and I always talk about like little moments in our days. Like we'll just like text each other random pictures of things, like a bird that we see, or like our food mainly.
Yeah, mostly.
And yeah, so I just really appreciate that. And he just has a really like musical way of writing poetry, and I feel like I'm a very like intense poetry person. Like I feel like all my poems are kind of like intense, which is like I like it, but like I also think it's like a cool style to aspire to, or just like an emotion to tap into, because I feel like I don't see that as much in poetry, and I think it's really cool. Because also I feel like a lot of people of color, it's like you tend to write a lot about trauma, which is like important and good, but it's like okay, sometimes that's, you know, like it's like it's hard to like not have that just be, you don't want that to just be your brand. Like sometimes you just want to be like a writer and like writing about like your experiences and stuff, so you don't want that to like define you. So yeah, that's who I would say is always inspiring me. And actually Ashley bought me a journal for my birthday when we were in Copenhagen, and she wrote a quote of his, like from one of his poems, on the cover, and it is sitting over there, that journal, on my stack of other journals, because I finished it a long time ago. But yeah, so
that seems like so long ago. But yeah, that I love that. And I feel like you're starting to tap into other genres in your own writing as well, which is cool, like doing some fiction.
Yeah. Well, Ashley's the fiction queen, so.
Yes.
This is just a video of us complimenting each other.
Basically. I was gonna ask you a question. Now I'm trying to remember what the question was. Oh yes. So this is a different question than the one I was going to ask. Okay. But for our audience, for these people watching,
for the millions of people watching us, yes.
So many. What would you recommend they start with, like their first Roskay piece to read, poem or collection?
That's so hard. I would say, well, definitely his collection, his chapbook called A Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. I think that like is a really good like just like starting place that encompasses like everything about his writing that I love. And as far as poems, I think like the title poem is like super good, and there's actually a video on YouTube, if you look it up, of him reading it, and I feel like that is like that just like gives you an idea of who he is and like his personality. I remember he recited that poem at my school when he came to visit and do a reading, and which is when I clearly became obsessed with him.
The love bloomed there.
Yeah, and honestly is when everybody in our class became obsessed with him. But so this poem is like super long. It's kind of, I think it's like 10 minutes long or 10 pages or something like that. Like and so obviously it takes him a while to get through it, and he like will start building momentum, and at the end I like when he was like, or I think it was like kind of towards the end, but it was like he was like really picking up speed and just like getting super intense, and then this kid in the audience sneezed, and like without flinching, he literally like he was like saying the lines like blah 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 blah, and like the whole poem is like about gratitude, so it was like thank you for this, thank you for that, blah blah blah, and then he was like bless you, and then just went back to like just
that's so awesome.
Like, and I feel like that totally is like, I don't know, like everything that I want to be in a poet, like is just like very like, I don't know, like even though you're in your own world, it's like nice to like engage with other people and just like be so conscious and aware, and like I don't know, he's just like a very kind person, and I'm very drawn to that as well. Because like sometimes, you know, they say like don't meet your favorite authors or whatever, because like
disappointment.
Yeah, you'll be like disappointed because they might end up being a jerk or something. But I feel like it's like kind of hard a lot of the times to separate the art from the artist, and I mean, I feel like we have like conversations about that all the time now, even. So yeah.
I think I don't remember if I watched the video. I feel like you sent it to me or if I just read it. I know I read that one. That's the one that I've read. I haven't. I'm ashamed. I haven't read any others yet. But I'm gonna.
It's okay. I'll just send you a copy of his book. Yeah. I'm always happy to give another copy.
Because I really want to. Because
Yes.
obviously I like reading about joy as well and gratitude and all that. We love our gratitude. The two of us. Let's see.
I was gonna say also about going back to Virginia Woolf.
Yes.
I really want to read A Room of My Own. Is that what it's called?
I've got it on my shelf. We'll do a book swap.
Oh my god, amazing.
Yes, me too. I think A Room of One's Own is more like an essay, right?
Oh, maybe.
Or I don't know why. I don't know.
I have no idea, clearly.
I think it's an essay and it's not fiction. But I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that.
Honestly, I would like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm interested. Just anything she writes is beautiful. Oh, right. I didn't say what my shirt said. I just said it. It says, I am rooted, but I flow.
Oh, wow.
It's not my favorite line of hers, but I like
right after celebrating your shirt, you're just like, trash. That line was trash. I don't know why she picked that.
No, I think it's cool. I think that's an interesting thing in writing. Anushka and I have talked about this before, where there are certain like Instagram poets and poetry where it's hard nowadays because everyone can do it and everyone can publicize their work on social media platforms. It's hard to know what is good now and what is. Sometimes I have trouble because I took one poetry class. I'm more again fiction. And Anushka I would trust more on the poetry side of things. But it is just hard to know if something is actually really good, if it's deep, if it's pretending to be deep, if it even matters, because if someone enjoys something, doesn't matter if something's a little surface level. But it's this weird thing once you graduate college as an English major, for me, I guess, just like being hypercritical of any form of the written word, and it's to a frustrating point. I don't know where that was.
I totally agree. Like I think about social media like too much sometimes because I feel like as like creative people, like we're always told to like brand ourselves, and I kind of like hate that. But I feel like with social media, it's kind of like what you're putting out there then becomes associated with like your work as well. But I also feel like as far as like, you know, being critical of things, like I felt that so much actually recently with Normal People, like because it's like super popular like fiction, contemporary fiction, and so when I first read the book, I really I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but I also was kind of like torn because I felt like the second half, I should say, was like so much better than the first half, and I also just like didn't really like. I never really read like solely romantic books, so it was kind of
that's a hard genre.
Yeah, so I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know. I was very conflicted, but I was like, you know what? Okay, I understand why there's like hype around this. But then the more and more that like everybody loved it, not because I'm like one of those people who's like trying to be a hipster, but like or like just have a hot take to have a hot take. But I did feel like I started critiquing her writing a lot more. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, if this was just meant to be like a fun book for people to read, then like does it really matter if it has like if it's like super literarily that's not a word like beautiful or something like that, because like maybe there's something to like being able to speak to like a general audience as well, like, you know what I mean, and not making the space like elitist. I don't know.
I think it's hard. We've talked about this before, but definitely there's just jealousy comes into play a lot with me. I think I'm a very self-aware person, so not to be like I'm self-aware, but
I'm so self-aware.
I very much recognize when I am getting unnecessarily jealous about things. So I think like the bestsellers list and so many things where these books where they are more not necessarily fluff in a bad way, but like you said, more for to be consumed by a general public audience, not necessarily people who have training in literature or writing. And I think it's just because until I get to a place in my own career, so to speak, where I have books on a bestseller list or that I am successful. It's just hard to see people writing in a way that I not to sound rude, but in a way where I think I could write better than that, and
Yeah.
they're super popular. And like I think that romance genre, I definitely have noticed that because I never read other than YA ones when I was in high school and before that, and I wasn't as critical then. I really enjoyed them. But the only romance book I've read was for book club in the past 5 or something years, and I just had such a hard time with it because I just kept thinking, this is so cliche. There's a
Right.
plot hole. They're saying the same things. This wouldn't happen in real life. I think I'm also sort of become pessimistic with love. Like, I don't believe in love at first sight. It's lust. I
I
believe
thought you were about to say, I just don't believe in love anymore. I was like, actually,
dark, dark times.
I was like, okay,
I do believe in love. I'm a hopeless romantic. I just don't believe in love at first sight, but that's a larger conversation that is completely I love throwing those in there. Yeah, so I don't know if you also, maybe it's just me and I just am a jealous kind of person.
no, yeah. Like I think like I'd like, and I'm not even saying, I'm not trying to say like Sally Rooney is like a terrible author at all,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if anything, she's been able to enchant so many people with her
Mhm.
words. But I do think like, it sometimes does kind of like astound me as to like what actually gets picked up
Yeah,
by like the public, basically, like, because like obviously there's like gatekeeping and stuff with like publishers and all of
yeah,
that stuff, but at the end of the day it's like the public decides what they like. And
yeah,
sometimes that's something that you're just like, what, why, this is not at all like the kind of
yeah.
art that I want like the masses to consume. But I feel like that also is like probably like gives us commentary on like how people are feeling and thinking, because like maybe like, I feel like I even think about like what I watch on TV, right? Like when I'm writing a
Hmm.
screenplay, like I'm writing a screenplay, what am I saying? Like writing like a pilot or something, for
Yeah,
example, like I'm not like I'm writing what I would want to see, definitely, but like that's definitely not what I always want to see. Like, you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like sometimes I just want to watch reality TV, and like
yeah,
what does that say about me? You know what I mean? When I
yeah.
also am like out here writing, or yeah, trying to write like really like academic things, or I don't know. Yeah.
That's a really good point because I never thought about it that way because again, like writing is what I do, so I'm very critical of it. But there's totally a place for the other genres,
Right.
obviously. Like in TV, I
Yeah.
watch 90% of what I watch is not high quality TV.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
a few that are good, like Umbrella Academy is really good. Sherlock is of excellent, excellent quality. But then everything else I watch is just fun and
Right.
I don't care about the plot holes. I'll mention them, but I won't really
Oh,
stick
like
with them and in
yeah.
my head brood over them. But I yeah, it's I guess that's my form because TV isn't what I do. So I don't
Mhm.
mind if I'm just in it for the bromance, honestly, in anything. But other than that, I it doesn't need to be some
Yeah.
perfectly crafted thing as long as I'm enjoying myself. So that's where I guess what writing used to be would be that escape that TV provides now. And now I feel like I still read as escapism and entertainment and all that, but so much of it now is to learn and to hone
Mhm.
my own craft, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's just my reading, the way I read and consume things has changed so much as I've aged. And it's nice, but also really sad because I don't read as much anymore because of that. And I it takes me a long time to get into things because of that now, I think. And I turn to TV more than I like, I guess. But
No, I definitely feel like it's hard to like just sit down and read. I think like I always, this is kind of like random, but like
go for it.
I feel like when I was younger and people would tell me who were older that they just stopped reading, you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
always was like, what? Like, how could you do that? Because I loved reading as a kid, which I'm
Yeah.
sure you did too. And I feel like most English majors
Yeah.
are like
I'd
that.
say so.
But yeah, like I would just like devour books like nobody's business. And now it can take me so long to get through a book. And like
Yeah.
when I get back into that groove, it's so nice, but it's so hard to like sustain that. And I think like I definitely like underestimated how hard it can get as you get older, because like you think about so many other things, and like sometimes you just want to like turn your brain off, and like the easiest way to do it is to watch random stuff, because you're not like actually having to do any work. Like it's just being like you are like a victim to it, but like you know what I mean, you're like passive, I guess. You're not like
passive. It's like a mindless entertainment is always what my dad says, my mom and stuff, I guess. But that, wait, what was I just gonna say? I had something. Oh yeah, so for example, last night I stayed up until 2 a.m. and watched 7 episodes of a 40-minute TV show. And today I woke up and I read 70 pages, or not 70 pages. I read probably 40 pages of something that I really like.
Yeah.
But I just put it down eventually. Like I don't know, I don't even understand, because I really was enjoying It's American Dirt, which I think is beautiful. Very controversial, I know. But I just put it down and was like, okay, it's about an hour. So now I feel like it's meeting the quota of I want to read for an hour today. I want to meet 45 minutes. And honestly, if I just put myself in, what am I saying? If I just like committed to reading every day, I could easily get back to where I was and finish books quickly, because I'm quick at reading. But it just sometimes I'll literally set a timer for 30 minutes just to force myself to read, and I hate that, because like you said, when I was younger, I would just read a book a day, just all these young adult fantasy books and dystopian books, and I would be ravenous. I would immediately say, I finished this, I need to get the next one in the trilogy, or the next one in the series, I need it right now. And I guess there's a part of growing up now, we have to keep in touch with people in a different way too. So some of the time where I could be reading, I'm also talking to my best friends like Anushka, and which is so important. But they're just, as an adult, I guess there are so many other factors at play. So I'm not just a kid who has parents cook for her and is driven to school, comes home, has play dates or whatever, and then the rest of the time is just for reading. There's just a lot more. And writing too gets in the way. Not in the way, it's good, but
no, definitely. Like I think what you said about setting a timer, oh my god, I feel that so much. And that kind of like makes me annoyed that like,
I know,
because like even in my head I'll be like, oh, like even right now, like I'm reading this good book, but it just is so tempting to just like put on Hulu.
yeah.
And like time just goes by so fast. But it's like, it's not that I don't like what I'm reading. Like in fact, I love it. And I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next. But I just don't want to take the effort to read it. But yeah, I don't know. What was the second thing you were talking about? You were talking about something else.
Reading habit changing, having to communicate with people.
Oh yeah, like when you, I think like
adulting.
Like what, basically what you said too. Like I never really thought about that, about how like we're just so much more aware of the world, even in a different way, because we have so many more responsibilities. And like even we're saying this as like really young people who are still like, you know, our family's still helping us, and like and like we don't have kids or anything like that, or like a partner. So it's like, even, sorry, I just like keep
alone forever. No partner.
No partner.
I love how emphatic that part was.
Nobody's salty over here.
Not at all. We don't talk about this all the time when we're not filming.
Way to out us, Ashley.
I know. I could cut it out. I won't though, probably.
No, we keep it real over here. But yeah, so I think like, and even just like worrying about like jobs, and like, you know, especially what you said about writing too. Like I feel like I'm always like, oh, I'm not writing, like I could be using this time to write. And it's like, okay, calm down, Anushka. Like you have your whole life. You don't need to like come out with the next bestseller tomorrow. Like even though in my head I'm like,
same. Well, because time is a ticking. Time's always a ticking.
That's how we talk about it. Time's a ticking.
Yes, that, oh my gosh, it's pouring outside. Hopefully you can't hear that. It's a massive storm here. But
that would be kind of nice.
It is nice if I were not filming. As long as it doesn't disrupt it, it's like a nice smooth sound.
Yeah.
My room. But anyway,
Yes.
Moving on. What was I going to say?
Transition.
So then another thing that I thought we could talk about was what inspires us, not author. I can't talk today. It's really hard. So like nature, this food, this scent, this lighting, this music, just something that is not related to another writing that inspires your work. And also maybe if you want to talk a little slurring my words. If you want to talk a little bit about when you like to write, where you like to write, on a day where you could go anywhere. So pretend it's not a pandemic, where you want to write. Maybe it's still at home, maybe it's outside, wherever, and anything about what gets you going in the creative sense.
Yes. And good clarification. Well, I guess I would say like so much inspires me, and I think it's dependent on like what I'm trying to inspire myself to be doing, if that makes sense, or like what kind of inspiration. So like, for example, if I'm writing, like well, that inspiration could literally come from like anywhere, but a lot of the times it's like actually other art that I consume. So maybe that's cheating because I'm so. But
any examples?
Like I love music. I love fashion. I love just, I don't know, like I actually really enjoy interacting with other pieces of text. Like even in my poems, like I'll have like a lot of times, like I used to do this a lot where I'd have quotes like or just lines that like people have said to me, like conversations that I have with people. That is actually very inspiring. I love talking to people. And I feel like that's like what actually makes me think, is like seeing something from another person's perspective. Yeah, and then like there's just like, I don't know, like I just like enjoying life. Like I think there was like this quote that was like, I don't know who it was by, or like a philosophy of life or something that I like heard of, and it was like life is a work of art or something like that. And I feel like that's just I just, when you just enjoy the finer things in life, but it's not even like the finer things, it's just everything.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And as far as what time I write and all of that, my routine. So if we were not in a pandemic, I would invite you, Ashley, to go with me to a coffee shop. Also, if we lived in the same city, but that's also, we're just gonna, coffee shops are like my vibe. I think when I was in school, like I actually really miss this a lot, but I actually really enjoy going to a library. And just because they have like super huge tables and you can like spread out, and because I feel like at coffee shops sometimes there's like not that much room, so I like having a large table space. So right now my substitute for that is the kitchen table downstairs, and that's like when I have my laptop or like my notebook on a table and I'm writing, like I think there's something different about that than when I'm like on a couch or like in my bed. Like I'm a lot more comfortable, but when I'm in those spaces, but there's something about sitting in a solid chair and just being like, I don't know, I feel like more like I'm working, if that makes sense. And I find that I get in the zone faster, even though I tend to just crawl into a comfy space. But you know, you can always have a blanket with you too, like even when you're at a table. But I really like working in the mornings. I feel like that's when I'm like have the most clear mind. Like last night I was like working pretty late on like an application, and I was just getting so frustrated because it was not coming to me like at all. Like what I was trying to say was not being eloquently written. And then this morning I just like was able to bang out like the last couple of paragraphs of what I was trying to say, and it just was so much easier. But I also think that might just be like fatigue. But the other time of day that also really inspires me, which is not as convenient, is like super late at night. Like, right?
Oh, so you mean early night is not as conducive?
As even though like because I feel like early evening, like because for example, like last night I was writing after I ate dinner, so like I'd been writing all day, and then it was like I feel like right after dinner time, like that's not the time that's like great for me, even though that's like actually when I spend a lot of time writing.
Yeah.
But it's mainly because that's how it fits into my schedule, because like if you're working during the day or like you have other things going on, like that's just, I don't know, the way that the 9 to 5 like structure is. Or even like even in school, like when you're taking classes and stuff, you kind of like have to do your homework in the evening. Like what else are you gonna do it? But I feel like that's like when I most want to like unwind and relax. But it's like hard to do. And like I remember during school I would literally like write for a long time. I'd be like studying somewhere with a friend, and then like at like 9 or 10 my break would literally be, or I guess, yeah, when did our gym close? I don't even remember. Well, but like I would like go to the gym with a friend or something for like half an hour or an hour, and then I would literally come back and keep writing, because like just to like keep like give me a break or something, even though like I know other people are like, that's probably really unhealthy. But like that was just like weirdly, I don't know, my schedule. But yeah, I think like late night is like when, like right before I'm going to bed, is when I will randomly get like a rush of ideas, or I'll just be like laying in bed and I'll be like, well, I guess I have to write this. And like I feel like it's easier to open up your laptop and just like type, because like it's, your screen glows, and so like you don't have to turn on the light or anything. But or like type on my phone or something in the notes app. The notes app. Yeah, but because it like normally I would like to just like write in my notebook so that it doesn't like disturb my sleeping pattern or whatever. But alas, we cannot always control the creative mind, so I have to give in sometimes.
What you're saying about a desk or some sort of hard table and chair to sit at, that definitely feels more productive. But that, I don't know what I was gonna say. I had something to say about that, but yeah, my grandma.
I feel like you would like this too. I also like having like a drink with me, not like an alcoholic drink per se, but you know,
it could be. I have a beer. They're empty. But.
Yeah, like having like tea or like coffee or something just like makes me also feel like maybe that's also just coffee shop vibe, you know.
Totally. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think I'm almost the same as you in the non-pandemic. Like I would like to be in a coffee shop, but I don't write in the morning because I'm never awake. But I write or I used to be, but not now. So I write in the afternoon, and then I think I can be, depending on the day, I can be really, like I had writing group before this with Aaron and Julia, and I was really vibing with my story, the weird dark fantasy one that I'm working on. And it just was flowing, so that's more the afternoon time. But I'm with you. I think the most inspirational time, and when I write some of my best stuff, is definitely later at night. Because after the 7 p.m. sort of evening time that you were talking about, that's TV time. That's when I'm watching TV or still eating dinner, depending on how late. And I think the reason that I like the afternoon writing is because I can exercise before that, and then I can make some yummy food. And then, I get a drink. That's just water now, boring, so you can barely see it. It's invisible. But having some sort of drink next to me, definitely.
I got some water.
We definitely both are coffee shop people. And I like, because I like being somewhere, like you were talking about people and what other people say inspiring you, so much the same way, especially on trains. I have written so many things based on things I've seen or heard, because I'm a big eavesdropper. If you're near me, I have big ears. I'm hearing everything you're saying, not even intentionally, but I'll do the same thing where I don't quote as much in my stuff. I did in the last thing I wrote, I quoted my grandma, but I usually just take from the moments, and sort of, since I started with fiction, I think I'm so drawn to scenes. And I love poetry because I can just write descriptions too. So I've always loved descriptive styles. But I think it is a nice way to capture a very small scene and contain it in however many lines. But I do like the quoting, and I want to do that more. Yeah, you did that recently in that poem that you wrote for your a verse in process. And it was so good. Mary Oliver, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
One of those.
Yeah, like, so for that example, like, even just, like, interacting with, like, almost like a historical figure, like, and, like, kind of imagining her as well, like, I don't know. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I guess I did that with Virginia Woolf.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've done that with someone of old, basically. I do. Oh, another inspiration, Greek mythology.
Oh, yes. I knew you were going to say that.
I cannot write any piece of fiction that does not reference Greek mythology at least once. Even this dark fantasy I'm writing today, I just added in something about the morning rituals of the ancient Greek. I just cannot do it because I'm so fascinated by all of those gods and goddesses and demigods and how they treated the humans. I mean, it's all fiction, but I'm so interested in it. So that is,
and you were a classics
minor.
Yeah.
Classics,
so that makes sense.
Minor. I like
there you go.
brains and I like classic stuff. That's actually one thing that I feel as if I've been lacking post college is reading classics. And I brought a lot with me, but I just miss old books, even though they're so hard to get through sometimes. They're also so romantic and also problematic. Just that style. I love the formality in old dialogue that we don't have as much now, and I think I like playing around with that sometimes. Sometimes I do wish that we still talk to people in that way. Like, I don't know, just basically I get this from one of my grandmas, my granny. There are so many little phrases she uses that are just more old-fashioned and sound so nice, just nicer than the way we talk. I love the informal talk of now and whatever, and all the funny little like
slang and stuff. Yeah,
just like the things we say now that are not like the olden days, but are fun and whatever, or they're not. Sometimes I hate them too, but basically, my grandma will say things like, when we say good night, she says, "I bid you a fond good night," instead of just night or nighty nighty or good night, and things like, I don't know, I can't think of other examples. That's the biggest one, but just I think that's what's so appealing to me about older stuff, and I want that to inspire what I write more, but it doesn't because I don't read enough of it. But that's something I'll always appreciate. And I also just love vocabulary. So I think that teaches me so many words, even if they're obsolete or antiquated or whatever the proper word is for speaking of words. Thank you for joining me, Anushka. We are going to be here. Sorry. I talk over my guests.
No, it's okay.
You were going to say something. Well, thank you. And Anushka and I are going to film a video on her channel, which I'll put a little tag for it. I'm not fancy enough to link because I have old software, but I'll put her handle for her YouTube. Do you call it a YouTube handle? No.
YouTube channel? I don't know.
Her YouTube channel.
These days.
We'll probably flip-flop once a month or something, or whenever we have time, so that we can talk to all of you. I feel so weird every time I say that. And also so we can just talk to each other and basically just record our conversations because we like chatting.
Yes. Yeah. No.
Words and
oh, yeah, sorry. I keep interrupting you. Now everybody's going to be like, what a rude guest.
You're never welcome back here again.
And for that, I banish you. Okay. Why am I so weird?
It sounded like Harry Potter or something. I'm just going to make your screen go dark now. Okay.
Yeah, no, this was so fun. This was so fun. That was not a real sentence, but thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited for you to come on my channel. So yeah, definitely excited to have this like be kind of a series. Like I feel like it'll be fun to like look back on as well.
So fun. That sounded really interesting.
So fun.
I mean,
it's not fun at all.
That was really fun. I can't. All right. Well, want to say it with me? I'm still crying. We can say the outro together. See you next time
on Consumed by Stars.
Oh wait, it's not gonna go away because we're too scared.
Wait, we might have to both do it. Ready?
Oh yeah,
we can high five.
Okay, so 3, 2.